Bum, 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 bum. Oh, hello, dear friends. Hey, it's me, Pugs Moran. It's another edition of High Noon. We do this every Monday through Friday here on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. It's a get together, it's a hang. Here, I'm going to give you guys time. Let me get the chat room up. There you go. Chat room is now working on my end, should be on yours. Pull up a beanbag chair in the chat room. Your participation is always encouraged. Just don't be a dick about stuff, if you know what I mean. Here's what the High Noon Show is. Like I said, Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. It's hot topics, current events, everything that you need to know about this day, whatever it is that's happening. If people are buzzing about it, I'm going to give it to you right here. Takes about 2 hours, typically, sometimes less, sometimes a little bit more. But by the end of it, the goal is that there ain't nobody in your life over the next 12 hours that can come up to you and say, hey, did you hear about? And you're like, no, I didn't hear. You can say, yeah, I did hear about it. Because I listen to High Noon every Monday through Friday at noon with Pugs Moran. All right, so, let's see, do we need any health? Hi, Jeff. Jeff's here, Dustin's here, Whitney's here, Byron's here, Frank is here to run. Everybody come on to run to pull in your... Everybody come on in. It's Friday. Excuse me. Hold up. Hey. So how we doing? How we doing this Friday? Oh, Whitney says amazing show last night. Oh, thank you. That's a nice way to transition into talking about Pugs and Parker. That is the second stream that we do most nights here. It's me, and it's James Parker. That comes on at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Thursday. We only do Monday through Thursday. He's got a bunch of kids. He's got a life he's got to do. He can't be committed to this kind of thing all the time. So that's more conversational. This is informative. I mean, I don't know. Is it? I mean, I would like it to be seen that way, but I don't know if it ultimately is. That's more conversational. It's me and Parker. It's E. E hangs out with us. What we've been using the Pugs and Parker show to do, we're working on a podcast, a super secret podcast project. It ain't secret at all. In fact, we've talked about it. The Observer has written about it. People on other radio shows around town have talked about it. We are doing a podcast that hopes to sort of follow the history, the rise, the fall, what happened, the personalities, where are they now, all of that kind of stuff of the old radio station here in Dallas, Fort Worth, Live 105.3, which is a station that I worked at for 8 years. And we've been using the Pugs and Parker show, the 9 p.m. show. We've been using that as sort of a way to interview some of our old colleagues from Live 105.3. Oh, and we've had everybody. We had Mondo last night. I think that's what Whitney's talking about. Mondo was fun last night. Mondo from the Jagger show. We still need to get Ben and Skin. We need to get Reed Reeker, the original GM. I need to talk to him about, what it was like creating the station and, the thoughts behind it and all that. We need to talk to Bob McNeil, who was the original program director. We need to talk to Jasmine. We need to talk to a lot of people. So those will continue. So thank you, Whitney. I appreciate it. We've been having fun with those shows. All right, let's get into today's High Noon show. What do you say we get it started? Today is High Noon for the 24th day of March, year of our Lord, 2023. There are 83 of these bad boys gone. It's the 83rd day of the year. 83 already. Oh, my God. 282 days remaining until the end of the year. So that's right. The pressure is building for you to get those New Year's Eve plans started. On this day in history, here's how we do it. Here's how we break down this day for you. I know I told you that, this show is pretty much all about this day. Well, it is. It's about this day. But in order to truly understand what this day will be, because it hasn't happened yet. See, we're in the middle. It's noon of this day. To truly understand what this day could be, we have to have a firm grasp of what it has meant. So we go through the history of the day. We talk about all the other things that happened previously on March the 24th. This is like one of my favorite parts, because once you see like a pattern, oh, this is a day where earthquakes happen, or oh, I see it, this is a day where political candidates get assassinated. You start to see a pattern, and I don't want to go all Q on you, but no, I'm kidding. All right, so that's what we do. We do the events of the day. I riff a little on each historic event. Then we go into the birthdays. We talk about people who were born under this plane of existence on this day and the contributions they may or may not have given us. Talk about that. And then we mourn some of the passings. And after we've done the history of the day, the births of the day, and we mourn the passings, then and only then do I feel comfortable that we can then move ahead as a unified unit into trying to tackle and understand the complicated issues that will define this episode of March the 24th. So let's get started. On this day in 1721, on this very day in 1721, Johann Sebastian Bach dedicated 6 concertos. They would become known as the Brandenburg Concertos. Some of it, I don't know anything about this. Okay, so apparently these are important. These are important works of classical music. Who's Bach now? Who did we talk? Didn't we talk about Mozart the other day, or was it Bach? I make no distinction between Bach, Mozart, and Beethoven. I recognize that they are incredible. They're important, but I don't know anything about classical music, though. This is where I always revert to. All right, which one did da-na-na-na? Because whoever did that, da-na-na-na, that's the GOAT. That's the GOAT. That's it. When I think of classical music, you think of that. Therefore, whoever is that Bach? I think that's Beethoven, right? Like Beethoven's the Michael Jordan of classical music dudes that none of us understand, right? Oh, here's the other fun thing about this. Okay, so let's take them 3. Let's take the power 3. Mozart, Bach, and Beethoven. All right. So just in my stupid 2023 American brain, I just think that they all, honestly, they could have all shared a beach house like the monkeys. I mean, I assume that they all lived around the same time. It's very possible that one of them could be 300 years older than the other. I don't know. I don't know. And I'm not curious enough to find out. Oh, that's the other thing about me, guys. I gotta lay off the bunny holes. I have been falling down internet bunny hole. So internet, we know what internet bunny holes are, right? You start reading an article on something, and in the middle of the article, there's a link to something else. So you click on that, and then now suddenly you're reading that. And that's not exactly the same thing as what you were reading before, but it's connected. It's sort of, and then there's another link somewhere on there, and you're like, oh, I want to see that, and you click on that. The worst place for this, you and I all know, is Wikipedia. If you are reading a Wikipedia article on something, I'll give you an example. All right, this is very weird. So here's where I began in my bunny hole last night. I began on the Welcome to Chippendales Wikipedia page. Welcome to Chippendales is a TV show on Hulu. It's really good. I finished it last night. It's a miniseries. It's not a series. It's a miniseries about the history of the Chippendales Empire and how it was nuts. Just murder and cocaine. And it was just crazy. So it's very good. If you have Hulu and you want to watch something really good this weekend, Welcome to Chippendales is very good. So it started out on the Wikipedia page for Welcome to Chippendales. I won't bore you with, how I ended up where I ended up, but I ended up on, the film The Summer of 42, but more importantly, the idea that film is celebrated because a middle-aged woman had sex with a 14-year-old boy. Anyway, I know it makes no sense, but that's all of the little holes. Here's how it happened. Okay, you want to know how it happened? It got so weird. I'm looking at other teacher-student relations. It started out just reading an article about the history of the TV show Welcome to Chippendales, and I ended up looking at teachers and it's crazy. Anyway, bunny holes. They're a problem for me lately. On this day in 1900, the Carnegie Steel Company is formed in New Jersey. Andrew Carnegie, he was a shark. He was a shark of the highest order. On this day, basically built Pittsburgh. I mean, the entire city of Pittsburgh is basically just, Carnegie. 1944 on this day in World War II. In an event later dramatized in the movie The Great Escape, 76 Allied prisoners of war begin breaking out of a German camp, Stalag Luft 3. put a pin in this because we're gonna want to circle back to this event. The Great Escape, huh? This is on this day. If you saw The Greatest, Steve McQueen in the motorcycle. Oh, come on! The Great Escape, back in the box, and he's got the ball in the mid. He's in the hot box. Steve McQueen. It's a bunch of. It's kind of like Hogan's Heroes, the movie. Okay, if that makes any sense for you. But they all escape. They all escape at once. But it's based on a real story, not Hogan's Heroes. But The Great Escape, the film The Great Escape, is based on the real thing that happened on this day in 1944. And as I said, put a pin in that because we're going to circle back to that topic. 1989 on this day in Prince William Sound, Alaska, the Exxon Valdez spilt over 240,000 barrels of crude oil after running aground. First time I ever saw a seagull covered in crude oil. Remember those pictures? The Exxon Valdez, it's so scary. And then they'd show you like a frog covered in muck. Be like, oh, that's terrible. Oh, like a little, hold on. This cannot happen. What is going on here? Sorry. Excuse us for a second. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Okay.
Hey, this is James Parker. Sorry, Mr. Cole.
Parker, my partner on the night show.
But you know what to do. I mean, my phone's telling me what your number is, so you don't really need to leave that. But so just do whatever you got to do.
At the tone, please record your message.
Yeah.
When you have finished recording,
apparently kids say you're not supposed to leave messages anymore. It means you're old. Hey, why are you blowing up my text when you know I'm in the middle of a high noon show? I mean, it's one thing that my friends don't listen to this. It's another thing that they don't even remember that it's a thing. They don't even remember. Okay, it's fine if you don't want to listen to it because you hang out with me and we do this stuff all the time and blah, blah, blah. But come on, man. At least acknowledge that, I'm busy in the 12 o'clock hour Monday through Friday. Great Escape happened for real on this day in 1944. 1989, the Prince William Sound, that's what we're doing. We're doing the Exxon Valdez. That was a big one. I mean, I don't know. I don't have any hot takes on that. It was terrible. It's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing. I don't know what I can... Am I supposed to have a position on it? I mean, am I supposed to be like, bang, 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 because of that? I don't know. Yes, it is a terrible thing when a big boat filled with oil spills and kills a bunch of animals and ruins... I don't know. Yeah, it's a terrible thing. I'm not smart enough to really understand and you know what? It's not that I'm not smart enough because I am smart enough. It's that I'm just... Come on. 1998 on this day, Mitchell Johnson and Andrew Golden, aged 11 and 13 respectively, fire upon teachers and students at Westside Middle School in Jonesboro, Arkansas. 5 people are killed and 10 are wounded. I mention this, it's a little dark, but I mention this because the Jonesboro shooting was always very interesting to me because the Jonesboro shooting happened. It was like the next one. Actually, there were 2 following Columbine. So school shootings had happened before Columbine. There had been, not to the extent that they seem to have taken off after Columbine. But what I'm saying, there had been incidents where this occurred in the past. But Columbine was the big one. Columbine was the one that made us all go, oh my God. Okay. So right after Columbine, there were 2 other school shootings. Jonesboro was one of them. Paducah, Kentucky was the other. And I will always remember the Jonesboro shooting, and I will always remember the Paducah, Kentucky shooting because they were happening at a time when the realization became, oh my God, these things happen now. These things are normal. These things we just have to every couple of weeks expect that we're going to see this now. So that's how I remember Jonesboro and Arkansas because of their close proximity to Columbine. These things in the years since, these things happen so much now. I have no idea. They happen all the time. There are no longer, with the exception of the truly bad ones, the truly devastatingly horrid ones, Sandy Hook, Robb Elementary, Stoneman Park, Parkland, excuse me, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. Like those stick out. But there are just so many. There are so many others that we know. Oh yeah, that's right. I mean, it's like all of us are going to experience this on some level at some point, either with our kids or at a high school we attended at one point. Oh, that was my high school, or we played them. It's crazy. It's crazy how common it is. And Jonesboro, I mentioned this because Jonesboro occurred at a time when they weren't that common, and we still remember Jonesboro. I think Jonesboro was the one. I don't know if Jonesboro was the one or Paducah, Kentucky was the one, but they waited for school to end, and they were in like some weeds. There was like a field around the entrance of the school. It was like a rural school. And they were hiding in the weeds with their rifles. And it was like they were hunting animals as they came out. Just unbelievable. All right, on this day in 1999, here's another big one. I remember this story too. A lorry, they call them lorries over the truck. A box truck, a delivery truck, a lorry carrying margarine and flour catches fire inside the Mont Blanc tunnel, creating an inferno that kills 38 people. Do you remember when this happened? So they built this tunnel through this mountain, and there was an accident in the tunnel, and the truck with all this, I mean, it sounds like they're baking bread, right? I mean, they got flour, they got margarine, this truck is filled with this stuff, it catches fire and all this, everybody died, it turned into an oven in there. Unbelievable. Those things are scary, man. Have you ever driven through one of those like mountain tunnels? Oh man, they always freak me out. I mean, and not in video games. I know in video games all the time, but I mean in real life. Have you ever gone through like Appalachia and driven through a mountain? I don't like it. Makes me uneasy. Those and suspension bridges. Can't handle suspension bridges. We got a bridge here out in, I want to say Rockwall. It's like over one of those lakes. It's, I don't know if it's 30. I don't know if it's 35. I don't know what it is. It's one of these, expressways, fast roads. I mean, we're over water we're in the middle of Dallas. We're in North Texas. And it's like we're in Florida for about 5 minutes. It's like this bridge goes just across the lake, the long way. Like not even the short way, like the long way. And I'm like, man, makes me uneasy. Never been on like the Golden Gate or the Brooklyn Bridge or anything like that. But if I was stuck in traffic on one of those, I would freak out. I am not good. I don't know. Whatever. They just make me uneasy. They make me anxious. On this day in 2018, students from across the United States staged the March for Our Lives, demanding gun control in response to the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting. That was a big march on this day in 2018. None of us remember it. I don't remember it. I mentioned it because I was like, really? That was a thing? Maybe marches don't work, or maybe they do. I don't know. But there's a whole bunch of people marching for something every day, every single day. God love them. Get out there. Go do your marching. Births. Let's talk about some people who were born on this day. Born on this day in 1874, Harry Houdini. Harry Houdini died. Harry Houdini died on Halloween, his birthday. He died on your birthday. Happy birthday. You're dead. Harry Houdini, he was a magician, but mostly there were a lot of magicians, right? Magicians, hey, I'm making the lady disappear. Not really that, wasn't wowing crowds with that. So Harry Houdini sort of upped the ante. He became more of an escape artist. He became a magician and an escape artist and almost like a stuntman. If Jackass had been around back then, Harry Houdini probably would have been one of the guys on Jackass. But one of his things was that Harry Houdini had a bit where he would challenge anybody, any walk of life, doesn't matter what you are, from, steel worker, big burly immigrant steel worker with shoulders the size of a mountain, to the heavyweight champion of the world. It did not matter. Harry Houdini would challenge you to punch him in the stomach. That was one of his bits. It's like he'd meet the heavyweight champion of the world. Hey, champ, Harry Houdini. Hit me in the belly, why don't you? I don't want to do that. I'd probably hurt you. No, you won't. I'm Harry Houdini. It's a trick. And then so they just boom, and they bang him as hard as they could in the belly. And Harry Houdini had a way of, I don't know if he had a 12-pack of abs or something down there, but whatever. Harry Houdini was able to do it. So on his birthday in 1931, I believe it was in Detroit, he was about to do the man hanging upside down in the box bit where he's in a straitjacket in water hanging and he's got to escape. So that was the bit he was preparing to do. He was backstage, and some Golden Gloves boxing winner was brought backstage, and the guy walks up to him, and they're like, "Hey, Harry, this is the new champ." And he says, "I hear you let anybody punch you in the stomach. Well, this kid's got a whopper of a right hand." It's one of those kind of deals. So Houdini's like, "Yeah, kid, go ahead. You want to give it a shot?" Like, before Harry Houdini was prepared, the kid gut shot at him. Just whap! Right in the belly. And it buckled him. It effed Houdini up backstage. And he was like, "Oh, God." So show must go on. The show must go on. So, he's got to go out there. He, as it turns out, has a whole crap ton of busted ribs, and he's got internal bleeding going on because this dude just crushed him. This boxing champion took up this and got him when he wasn't prepared. He wasn't flexing his thumb. So he gets hung upside down in the water in the straitjacket. His ribs are broken. He's totally fucked up. He can't get out. He dies. Boom, Harry Houdini, born on this day in 1874. What a way to go. Entertaining guy, though. When I was a kid, when I was a young man, when I was a teenager, a youngster reading books, I think one of the first books I read was a biography on Harry Houdini. Eric Weiss. I became kind of a fan of his. He's an interesting guy. He believed in UFOs. That's right. A dude way back then believing in UFOs. He says he saw something. He believed in paranormal and spirits, and he so desperately wanted to contact his mother in the afterlife that he made a profession, essentially. He became famous for going around and debunking psychics. Like, he believed in the paranormal and all that stuff, but what he didn't like was that people were exploiting it for money. So Harry Houdini would show up at a psychic's place, a little shop, and he'd debunk it. Born on this day in 1909, Clyde Barrow. Of course, Clyde Barrow of Bonnie and Clyde, immortalized on screen by Warren Beatty and a whole bunch of other people. But let's not kid ourselves. The Warren Beatty, Faye Dunaway, Bonnie and Clyde is the one you need to watch. Born on this day in 1911, Kevin Barber in the chat room today. We got Kevin in here because I got another animator for him. Joseph Barbera, an American animator, director, and producer. So important, seriously. These people, I mentioned these people, and it's just like, yeah, he's kind of famous. It's not just that they're famous. I mean, Joseph Barbera isn't famous. You think about what his life's work contributed to the culture of our society. That dude gave us Yogi Bear, man. I mean, that's good stuff. Joseph Barbera, a life well lived. Hanna-Barbera, of course, is where he's from. Born on this day in 1924. How about Norman Fell, ladies and gentlemen? Norman Fell, Mr. Roper, famous for this move. He'd mug to the camera. He'd go, Jack, okay, Jack. Remember how over, just totally homophobic, just Mr. Roper. Basically, the dialogue of Three's Company was this: you can't live with a girl unless you're gay. It was just crazy. The premise of Three's Company was that Jack had to pretend to be gay even though he wasn't because he needed a place to live. And back in, 1977, a dude couldn't live with the Ropers, were the landlords. They didn't want a single man, a single straight man. So Jack had to pretend to be gay. Norman Fell. He was awesome. Born on this day in 1930, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a deep breath. Here's a big one. Steve McQueen. Steve McQueen, born on this day in 1930. Don't get me started on Steve McQueen. Don't even get me started. First of all, is Steve McQueen my favorite actor of all time? Yes, he is. Do I think Steve McQueen is the best actor of all time? No. I'd put him, he's my favorite actor of all time, McQueen. But mostly just because he's like of all the people, here's what I'll say about Steve McQueen. And I put Paul Newman in this category too with Steve McQueen. Of all the people who made it in Hollywood and became superstar A-list Hollywood elite, there's only a couple who really seem like cool people. Like Paul Newman seemed like a cool guy. Steve McQueen was absolutely one of those cool guys. He just wanted to race cars, shoot guns, train karate, and, sleep with the world's most beautiful women. Can you blame Steve McQueen for those life goals? And God damn it, he achieved them all. Women, I love, if you saw the Quentin Tarantino movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, there is a scene at the Playboy Mansion where Sharon Tate and Jay Sebring go to the Playboy Mansion and they're all partying. And essentially the person who explains what's going on at the Playboy Mansion in the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is Steve McQueen. Steve McQueen, who's attending this party. And Steve McQueen starts to talk to, I forgot who the other actress is, another famous actress. But he's explaining the love dynamic between Sharon Tate and Jay Sebring and Roman Polanski. And Steve McQueen's basically saying, yeah, Sharon Tate, she likes basically wimpy men. And he's like, I never had a shot at her. Like McQueen's like, yeah, I went for her, but she likes hairdressers and Polish film directors. I'm Steve McQueen, and I never had a shot at her. Steve McQueen draft! You better believe we're doing a Steve McQueen draft. The first pick in the Steve McQueen draft, my favorite actor of all time, The Great Escape. That's why I told you put a pin in it. Look at that. How cool is that? Steve McQueen, in my opinion, Steve McQueen's coolest film, The Great Escape. Based on a real event that happened on his birthday. How crazy is that? Look at that. The world, oh man, sometimes. All right, The Great Escape, the first pick in the Steve McQueen draft. Second pick off the board in the Steve McQueen draft, the best Western ever made, The Magnificent Seven. That's right. Pick 3 off the board for the Steve McQueen draft. We're going with Bullitt, man. Bullitt, that car. Oh, Bullitt. Now that was, if you like muscle cars and you like badass dudes in the 70s, you can't get any cooler than Bullitt. Number 4, Steve McQueen, what, he's just a brawler? He's just like some tough guy cop, No, Steve McQueen, off the board, number 4, The Thomas Crown Affair. That's right. Steve McQueen can play an elegant sophisticate in a suit, a billionaire businessman who's got the world by the balls. Thomas Crown Affair, very good, very good. Capers, if you like caper movies or heist movies, those kind of things. Number 5, I went deep. I figured it was the 5th round pick in the Steve McQueen draft, and I love all of his movies, but this is a movie that I can watch from beginning to end whenever it's on. You know how we do with like Scarface or what was that? Shawshank Redemption or Rocky. If it just comes on wherever it is, you can watch it. That's how I am with this movie, except that this movie, whenever I see that it's available to watch, I watch it. It's called Le Mans. Le Mans. Steve McQueen was a race car enthusiast. He was a racer. He owned all kinds of, loved racing. And he loved Le Mans racing, the 24 hours of Le Mans. And he wanted to make a movie, and he had a movie left on his contract, his Hollywood deal. And he said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to Le Mans. I'm going to go to Le Mans just because I love freaking car racing. And why don't we make a movie while I'm there? And so they used the actual race of Le Mans from that year, and he just entered a car in it. And they filmed it like it was part of the actual. The movie is being filmed while the actual race is really occurring. And if you like auto racing movies, oh my God, Steve McQueen's Le Mans is cool. Let's see here. Of course, we could very easily just invite all the things that Steve McQueen did to camp because he died young. And so he doesn't have this crazy extensive body of work that goes into the 80s and 90s. So it stops basically with The Hunter. But here's who we're bringing into camp. We're bringing in Sand Pebbles. Got to bring in Sand Pebbles. Cincinnati Kid. Got to bring in Cincinnati Kid. The Getaway. You got to bring in The Getaway. Towering Inferno. You think I'm walking away from Towering Inferno? And then, of course, his final movie, The Hunter, which is a very cool movie about a bounty hunter. If you're a Chicagoan, The Hunter is the movie where he drove the car off Marina Tower into the Chicago River. That's a very famous moment in Chicago movie making history anyway. Born on this day in 1944, R. Lee Ermey. R. Lee Ermey. Great American hero, soldier. Yelled at Pyle. Yeah, Full Metal Jacket. Remember, he's the drill sergeant, and then he had a bunch of shows on A&E and stuff. I don't know. I never watched those things, but I liked him. I liked R. Lee Ermey. He was cool. Let's see here. Born on this day in 1945, Curtis Hanson. Died in 2016. Curtis Hanson was a film director. Curtis Hanson was an awesome film director. I dare say that Curtis Hanson was one of my favorite, when he was working and when he was alive, obviously. He was one of my favorites. He did L.A. Confidential. I don't know if you ever saw L.A. Confidential. He did Wonder Boys, which is a film that I mentioned a couple of days ago when I said, look, if you're looking for two really good movies to watch, Ted Demi's Beautiful Girls is fantastic. It's such a good movie. If you're just laying around, you just want to watch a movie, you want to laugh, you want to be thought-provoked, it's good. Beautiful Girls by Ted Demi, who's dead, and Wonder Boys by Curtis Hanson, who's also dead. Wonder Boys is amazing. Wonder Boys is amazing for any number of reasons. Katie Holmes is in it. She's so cute. Michael Douglas, Tobey Maguire. It's really good. But Wonder Boys is notable because it was the movie that gave Robert Downey Jr. his second chance. Remember when Robert Downey Jr. was he'd been in jail, all kinds of terrible things were happening. He was the biggest train wreck ever. And then he went away for like 2 years. And then slowly he started popping back up in movies. The supposed fixed, better than ever Robert Downey Jr. Wonder Boys was the first major film to be released in theaters where I remember Robert Downey Jr. having a very big role. He was essentially the second lead to Frances McDormand, third lead, I guess. Frances McDormand, Michael Douglas, and then Robert Downey Jr. And then Tobey Maguire and Katie Holmes played two college students who had major roles. Great movie. Anyway, so he did Bad Influence. That was the Rob Lowe movie when Rob Lowe first came back. Remember that when Rob Lowe got in trouble and it's like, because of that video. Rob Lowe got in trouble, and then they had to make a new movie. So the James Spader Rob Lowe movie, Bad Influence, came out. Curtis Hanson. Hand That Rocks the Cradle, Curtis Hanson. I talked about L.A. Confidential, Curtis Hanson. I talked about Wonder Boys, Curtis Hanson. In Her Shoes, Curtis Hanson. 8 Mile, that so good Eminem biopic, which very easily, when I heard that they were making, at the time, you got to remember the time, go back to the time, when they said they're making a movie and Eminem starring in it. My first thought is Eminem doesn't know how to act. This is going to be stupid. This is a movie for dumb people. It's going to be a stupid movie about stupid stuff. And then Curtis Hanson took over the script and directing it. And holy shit, 8 Mile is a great movie. And I have to believe it's because of Curtis Hanson. Happy birthday to Curtis Hanson, celebrating a birthday. Love him. He died. And happy birthday to Curtis Hanson, who's now dead. That's too bad. Born on this day in 1953, another guy who is sadly dead, Louis Anderson. Love Louis Anderson. Born on this day in 1960. Oh, love her long time. Ladies and gentlemen, English-American actress and model, Kelly LeBrock. Remember Kelly LeBrock? Shermer High School. Kelly LeBrock. Weird Science. Let's make the most beautiful girl in the world. Pow! In walks Kelly LeBrock. And then she married Kelly LeBrock. Dumb hot chicks. I'm sorry. I know the English accent makes her seem like she knows what she's doing. She's a dumb hot chick. She's another dumb hot chick. Tethered her life to Steven Seagal when she was like really hot and marketable and all of that, and probably could have capitalized on the Weird Science thing and done a couple of other things. What does she do? She hooks up with Steven Seagal, a guy who does not elevate her brand, but in fact diminishes it. Because Steven Seagal, even at the time, was a D-list guy making cheap films. Those were cheap movies. At some point, he began to get bigger movies. But with Steven Seagal, the bulk of his fame was like little independent movies. Out for Justice. Those kinds of things. Kelly LeBrock, you blew it! You blew it! You could have gone back to England. You could have married a duke. You could be Lady Kelly LeBrock. Instead, you're like Steven Seagal's ex-wife. God. Dumb hot chick. You know who's not a dumb hot chick? Born on this day, umbilical cousins with Kelly LeBrock. Another one of my favorites, Annabella Sciorra. Oh my God. Could you imagine being born beautiful with a name like Annabella Sciorra? First of all, I mean, it's like her name, she's beautiful, right? And she would be beautiful if her name was Agnes Gert, right? She'd be like, oh, look, Agnes Gert. Isn't that ironic? She's so beautiful and her name is Agnes Gert. No, but she wasn't. She's beautiful and she was born Annabella Sciarra. Oh my God, I loved her. She was great in The Sopranos too. She played one of Tony's Gumas. Annabella Sciarra played the Guma. Was she the one at the Mercedes dealership? Was she the girl Valerie? Was that her name? She killed herself. She was crazy. He met her at Melfi's therapy session. Dr. Melfi double booked a session. And so Tony and this woman were in the waiting room together and they met. She's crazy as hell. Tony's a mob guy. That relationship was not going to work out well. Anyway, Anna Sciarra, celebrating a birthday today in 1960. Born in 1960. Born on this day in 1965. How about The Undertaker? The Undertaker. He's a wrestler. I don't know much about wrestling, but The Undertaker. He's a guy. I know he's a big one. Born on this day in 1970, Laura Flynn Boyle. Ugh. Another weird chick. Another weird girl. The weirdo. She's the weirdo. Moving on. Born on this day in 1973. Oh, we've got two in a row that I like. Born on this day in 1973, Jim Parsons. Sheldon from, smart nerd guys with hot girlfriends. What was that show called? Big Bang Theory. Sheldon from Big Bang Theory. And now he's doing acting and stuff. He's nice. Met him twice. Interviews, just because back when I was doing radio. Such a nice guy both times. Houston kid. Now, the other one that I like, born on this day a year later, born on this day in 1974, Allison Hannigan. Come on. Allison Hannigan is a great she's a great actress. She's a great character. She's a great flag post for a character that she portrayed. Every generation has had this character. Whenever there is a film or a film series or a genre of films that are trying to appeal to the high school kids of the era, there is always actors who play the handsome boyfriend. There's always the actress who play the lead, the Molly Ringwald. But then there's also, every generation has the girl who is like the good girlfriend, not smoking hot, but she's really like a great girlfriend. Like, she's pretty, like, don't get me wrong, she's pretty, but she's not like, the mean girls of the school or whatever. Every generation, every film that Allison Hannigan for her generation played that role. She was always the girl in the high school movies who was the cool girlfriend. She even did that, right? And she was also kind of the cool wife on How I Met Your Mother, I guess. Anyway, she's a doll. Allison Hannigan is just a doll. Who else do we got celebrating birthdays today? Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning, born on this day in 1976. Peyton Manning. I have a friend who used to play with Peyton Manning in college, and he hates Peyton Manning. Like, he hates him. Like, he just thinks he's the biggest jerk. Like, I'll put it to you this way. The way, if we're out having beers and you really start asking me about, we've been doing a lot of talk on the 105.3 history, the podcast that I'm doing, the history of 105.3. If we're going out for beers and you ask me and we start really talking about Russ Martin, you'll get my real opinions on Russ Martin. They're very similar to my friend's opinions on Peyton Manning. Very similar. Seemingly the same personality type. Happy birthday, Peyton Manning. He appears on TV and he's the most lovable and wonderful guy on the planet. I'm just saying. I have a friend who knew him in college when he was the son of Archie Manning and like God's gift, big man on campus, all that. He just said he wasn't a very nice person. He wasn't a very cool guy. Talented, great player, but let's see, what else do we got here? Peyton Manning, born on this day in 1977. Oh my God, you guys, can you believe this? They're born on the same day. I already told you that Steve McQueen is my favorite male actor of all time. And we went through the Steve McQueen draft. You guys, it's the birthday of my current favorite actress, Jessica Chastain. It's Miss Chastain's birthday. I love Jessica Chastain. I love her. I love Jessica Chastain. I love Scarlett Johansson. I love Jennifer Lawrence. I love Amy Adams. Those are my favorite current actresses. But Jessica Chastain is at the very top of it. So yeah, we're doing a Jessica Chastain draft, although I gotta be honest, this is going to be an incomplete draft because she's like, what, 35? You know, I don't even know how old she is. She's made, what, 10 movies? So it's going to be difficult doing a draft for Jessica Chastain because she's young and she's like in the middle of her career. She's already an Oscar winner, but we'll try it anyway. All right, Jessica Chastain draft. The first film off the board in the Jessica Chastain draft, Molly's Game. Molly's Game. Molly's Game is based on a true story of an underground poker room in Los Angeles that then moved to New York. Jessica Chastain plays Molly, the girl who runs the game for the underworld or whatever. Again, based on the true story. Adam says she's 46. All right, she's 46. That's fine. Whatever. She doesn't have the body of work of a woman that, typically. Steve McQueen, you know what I mean? He had been doing movies for 30 years. Let's let her have her career. Molly's Game goes number 1 off the board. Number 2 off the board, Zero Dark 30. I still love that movie. I still love Zero Dark 30. It was the first time that I ever really noticed Jessica Chastain as an actress. I was like, man, she's good. The Eyes of Tammy Faye, off the board at number 3. She won the Oscar for it. I loved Tammy Faye Baker. She was such a nice lady. She was a nice lady. I'm sorry. Crazy? Sure. I'm not Christian. You know that. I'm not a big religious guy. Tammy Faye was just a nice lady. And Jessica Chastain played her so wonderfully. Jessica Chastain, the way Jessica Chastain played Tammy Faye Baker in that movie is really how I remember Tammy Faye Baker being. And Tammy Faye used to do our show in Chicago like weekly at one point. I mean, because they filmed the talk show. Remember she did a talk show? Tammy Faye and Jim Jay. It was on for like a year. It's the craziest talk show of all time. Anyway, they filmed that in Chicago, and so they used to come by our studios all the time. She was wonderful, and Jessica Chastain just nailed her. Nailed the sweetness, the kindness. She's like a little bird. You just wanted to take care of her. Off the board, number 3, The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Number 4, The Martian. Matt Damon eating poop potatoes or whatever the hell it was. The Martian is number 4 off the board for the Jessica Chastain draft. And then number 5 is a film called early in her career. It's really good. I went back and watched it. I'd already loved Jessica Chastain, and I went back and watched Jolene. Jolene, number 5 off the board. So the Jessica Chastain draft goes this way. Molly's Game, number 1. Zero Dark 30, number 2. The Eyes of Tammy Faye, number 3. The Martian, number 4. And Jolene, number 4. Completes our Jessica Chastain draft. Oh, she's so cool. I was yelling at, who was I yelling at? I was yelling at who's Shermer High School. Weird Science, that chick, for blowing it. She could have had it all. Jessica Chastain, she better not blow it. You know what I mean? Like, Jessica Chastain better not start dating, I don't know, Little Yachty. Okay, something like that. Don't, she's got a great career ahead of her. Also born on this day in 1998. Happy birthday to a guy who's lucky to be alive. Or depending on what dark holes of the internet you hang out in. He died a couple of months back. Happy birthday, Buffalo Bills free safety. Is he even a safety? He's a safety. Damar Hamlin. Remember how famous he was for a month? And then I just said his name, and for a second you guys went, wait, who? Oh, that guy, that's right. We're only like a month away from everybody talking about him, and we already forgetting about his name. All right, cover some deaths. Dead on this day in 1882, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, American poet and educator. Of course, famous for I Wish I Was a Fish. No, I don't think that was him. Also, dead on this day in 1905, Jules Verne, ladies and gentlemen. Jules Verne. 20,000, 10,000. I don't know. He did all those. I don't know Jules Verne books. I don't know him. I know who Jules Verne is, right? I know. Like if you said, oh, it's got a Jules Verne quality, I would get that. I know that. But I never actually read the books. But I know. Right? Steampunk underwater. Sci-fi, 1890s sci-fi. That's what I imagine, right, with Jules Verne. Dead on this day in 2016. Here's a bad one. Here's one that hurts. Gary Shandling. Gary Shandling. This is the theme to Gary's show. This is the theme to... Remember Gary Shandling's show? Gary Shandling, who was just a stand-up comedian and never had the network hit the way a Jerry Seinfeld or Paul Reiser or Ray Romano or any of these guys, never had the network hit like that. But Gary Shandling is responsible for what, in my opinion, are two of the most groundbreaking shows in the history of the 30-minute medium of television, the situation comedy. Whether you consider them situation comedies or not, because they don't look like what a typical situation comedy was supposed to look like, but they were in fact situation comedies. He had a show. Gary Shandling had his first show, the Gary Shandling Show on Showtime, and it was a typical situation comedy. At least it appeared to be. It almost looked like he was living in an apartment complex, and the neighbors would drop by, and he had wacky neighbors. That was the Gary Shandling Show. Except that Gary Shandling broke the fourth wall. Gary Shandling did something really interesting in his sitcom that wasn't done, which was he would stop the sitcom, turn to the camera, and address the audience about what was going on. There were all kinds of really clever, super interesting things that Gary Shandling was doing with the Gary Shandling Show. And then he just ended that show. He was like, "Yeah, I'm done with it. We're done. Let's move on." And everybody's like, "Oh, that sucks. That was a good show." And then he comes back with The Larry Sanders Show. The Larry Sanders Show, which, I mean, if we're knife fighting it out over the funniest situation comedy of all time, I'm thinking a case can be made for Curb, a case can be made for Seinfeld, a case can be made for Arrested Development. But dude, a case needs to be made for The Larry Sanders Show. Just as far as like pop culture. Hey now, there are so many things from that little HBO show from the 1990s that are just everywhere in our culture today that we just take for granted. We don't even know where they came from. But that's how Gary Shandling, man, like I said, never had the Ray Romano everybody loves. Never had the Seinfeld. Never had the Paul Reiser Mad About You. Never had that. But geez, he's dead. And you can look at what he did do. My God. Certainly more, both his sitcoms are certainly more important and influential than Mad About You or Everybody Loves Raymond. They just, without question. Seinfeld, again, we can have that debate. But man, yeah, it was on this day. Gary Shandling died in 2016. On this day in 2021, a show that I just mentioned, Arrested Development, Jessica Walter died on this day in 2021. She was the mom. She was Lucille Bluth on Arrested Development. Oh my God, was she funny. She was hysterical as this super wealthy woman who was so out of touch with, like, what's one of her lines? Somebody stole a banana or something, and she said, "Oh, come on, it's a banana. What could it cost? $20?" Like, no idea what a banana costs. A single banana. Any lines like that. I didn't get the line exactly right, but it was to that. Jessica Walters died on this day in 2021. All right, there you have it, folks. That concludes Previously on March the 24th. Should we get into all the stuff that's trending today? Should we get into the stuff that people are talking about, the headlines, the hot topics, all that stuff? All right, why not? Trump. We don't do divisive politics on this show, but this is a pretty interesting story since it concerns a historic potential occurrence, which would be the indictment and then arrest of a former president of the United States. So here's what's going on with that. So as I've been saying all week, when Trump, and let's not lose sight of this, the entire country was thrown into a tizzy expecting some arrest on Tuesday. The only person who said there was going to be an arrest on Tuesday was Trump himself. But the media reacted to that. Oh, he must know something. Ooh. Oh, people are stirred up. Ooh, let's stir him up more. So that's what they did. There was never going to be any arrest on Tuesday. I saw that and I went, wait, on Saturday? Okay, so if there is going to be an arrest on Tuesday, then that means that the indictment has to come down on Monday. When the indictment didn't come down on Monday, I'm like, there's not going to be an arrest on Tuesday. Okay? This isn't going to happen. And then they started adding more witnesses to this New York grand jury. This is the Stormy Daniels situation. Look, he's got a lot of plates spinning legally. He's got a whole bunch of these things going on. But the thing that we're talking about here is the Stormy Daniels. Michael Cohen went to prison for it, paid up, whatever. A crime occurred. A crime occurred. We know this for a fact. Whether you believe it's actually a crime or not is different. But a crime occurred, we know for a fact, because Michael Cohen was sentenced to prison for it. So there is, right now, the case that's being heard is based on the belief that a crime occurred because somebody has already been sentenced. So this whole idea that it wasn't a crime, that's not even being debated. It is a crime. Now they're trying to figure out who else they're going to charge. That's what this is about. Now, is he culpable? That's the question. Not, is it illegal? What was done was illegal. Michael Cohen went to prison for it. It was already deemed illegal by the United States judicial system. So, we know that. Was Trump complicit? That's what this grand jury's hearing. And so essentially all week long, they started adding new witnesses. Like, we want to talk to this person, we want to talk to this person. Then on Thursday and Friday, they didn't even meet. Remember that was the other story that the media started pushing. There's going to be an indictment on Thursday. There's going to be an indictment on Thursday. And then like Thursday at noon, CNN, breaking news. The grand jury is not meeting today. And they made it seem like the grand jury isn't meeting because something mysterious happened, when in fact, grand juries meet in secret. The media doesn't know when they're supposed to meet, so to report that a meeting that didn't occur is somehow mysterious is flimsy from the start because you're not sure there was ever supposed to be a meeting in the first place. Yet people were stirred up. Ooh, the grand jury on Thursday and Friday, they're not meeting. But nobody knew if they were meeting or not anyway. So Monday is when it will restart up, and they're going to hear another witness on Monday. Trump, for his part, though, he's got that Truth Social. And he's out there, he's putting some messages out there. He's telling people all kinds of things. One of the things I think is funny, look, man, undeniably, he's a funny man. I don't know if it's intentional, unintentional, he makes me laugh. One of the things that he's demanding on Truth Social is that I demand, and he said it like that, I demand, like, first of all, who are you, dude? What do you mean you demand? What? He demands that all the people leading all the multiple investigations into his various issues all be fired. He wants them all. He demanded it. What's going on there? Like, did he really think there was a chance that somebody would read that and go, well, he demands it, and Biden would be like, all right, I'm going to fire the head of the Justice Department. In that moment, did he think that? Because that's delusional. That's a delusional person who thinks that could happen. Or is he just fucking with us? See, I think he's just fucking with us. I think he knows what he's doing. He's just a troll. He's an apex troll, and he's so good at it. Anyway, he's making all kinds of demands. So we weren't going to know anything about it. So enjoy your weekend. Maybe next week the country will burn down. Who knows? We'll see when that happens. But enjoy your weekend. It should be nice. TikTok is going on. Tick-tack, tickety-tack. Tick to the talk, to the tickety-tack-tack. So TikTok. Oh, do we hate TikTok yet? Do we hate TikTok? TikTok's owned by the Chineses. TikTok ain't owned by Meta. TikTok ain't owned by Google. TikTok owned by the Chineses. And apparently in the war for engagement, TikTok is kicking some ass. 151 million users in the United States. Now, I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's just 151 million downloads of the app in the United States or 151 million actual accounts. But folks, that's per near half the country, okay? We got, 400 million people in this country, something like that. So 151 million people out there have TikTok accounts. And guess what? These people that have TikTok accounts, they're under 30. They're not a whole lot of that 151 million or 121, whatever it was. Doesn't matter when you're talking about the hundreds of millions. I don't know how many of them are broken down by age, but for the most part, TikTok has taken youth culture in America by storm. It's their preferred means. TikTok is the preferred means. Now, it's owned by China. That's a problem. Meta doesn't like that. Meta doesn't like that. Old Zuckerberg doesn't like that because, boy, he's looking at Facebook. He's got a whole bunch. Meta's doing fine, right? You look at Facebook and you think, oh, it's just all old people. Nah, they got Instagram. They got everything. They got it all. They're fine. Don't worry about them. But, if there is an opportunity for a group like Google and a group like Meta to maybe fuck with a competitor who may not have the boots on the ground access to legislators in this country, like Meta does and Google does. And by that, I mean both Meta and Google probably pay $100 million a year to various lobbies, lobbying groups, influence peddlers, whoever it is that they're paying. But that's the way it works. Doesn't that sound illegal? It's not. It's not. You can pay lobbyists to advocate for you in Washington, D.C. So they spend all that money, and it's the war for engagements, and, apparently a lot of young people are on TikTok. So long story short, Meta and Google, they're not happy with this, and they see an opportunity with current climate of distrust towards the Chinese to exploit that. So they put a whole bunch of money in a whole bunch of politicians' pockets, and I ain't talking about Republicans. I ain't talking about Democrats. I'm talking about all of them. Meta and Google have paid off. Why do you think they're going so hard at TikTok and Twitter? Meta and Google are behind this. They own the Congress. Anyway, the other thing that I'm loving about these TikTok hearings is this one especially, this narrative is coming from the Republicans. There's a lot of bullshit narratives coming from the Democrats too, but this particular one that I find funny, not funny, telling. You're telling on yourselves. This one, I think, is telling. So, who was it? Was it Jim Jordan? I don't know if it was Jim Jordan. I don't know, it was somebody else. One of these Republican guys, right, from some small district in Tennessee or somewhere. He made this big speech about how TikTok needs to be banned. And I don't know if it needs to be banned or not. I'm not talking about the technical aspects of the real concern. I'm just sitting here knocking down some of the bullshit narratives that they're arguing. TikTok, the right-wing, MAGA, Republican. TikTok needs to be gone because of the children, because our children are vulnerable. And if there's one thing and he's talking about all of his caucus, one thing in our caucus that we believe in, and that is protecting children. And I'm like, dude, my kid had an active shooter drill last week. I'm like, what are you talking about for the children? And then he went on to talk about how there are a lot of TikTok videos that are exploiting and talking about body issues and body shaming and bulimia. This is a Republican dude who is bought and paid for by the NRA and also Meta and Google for that matter now, because it seems like he's making the argument that the safety of children are his top priority. Meanwhile, he's cashing these NRA campaign checks. Won't budge at all on school safety for like guns and stuff. But teenagers with TikTok sharing videos where they're talking about how, you can puke after a big meal. Those are the ones we need to step in. There's a level of hypocrisy in these TikTok hearings coming from specific congressmen that I just find jaw-dropping. It's absolutely jaw-dropping. You're worried about children's safety on TikTok, but we have a very real conversation we have to have about guns in schools. Let's not even make that conversation about guns in general. We'll save that. Look, ain't nobody coming for the Second Amendment. Pro-right, I believe you should have guns. Everybody I know has guns. I got guns. Never mind. My point being, nobody's trying to take away your guns, man. We just want maybe schools to be a little bit safer. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. But TikTok? You're concerned with TikTok? You're concerned with TikTok and girls developing bulimia because they have TikTok, and that could be dangerous? Are you kidding me? And again, I have no opinion on whether or not TikTok should be banned or not. Not really up on the tech specs. Not really up on, what the fear is. Although, as I always say, if the fear with TikTok is that the Chinese are spying on me, The Chinese are going to take all of my information. They're going to be looking in on my texts between me and James and Schwartz and my kid. Honestly, if the Chinese, I'm flattered. If the Chinese really find me that interesting, I am flattered. Because they ain't getting anything out of me. So that ain't a real concern for me. Well, they could take all your money from your bank account. Okay, me personally? Are they going to target me individually? Of all the people, they're going to come after me individually and they're going to take my money out of my bank account, or are they going to attack the banks in general? Because that's different. Like if suddenly I'm on the wrong side of the entire Chinese government and I ain't done anything and they're coming to take my paltry $150 out of my checking account, I'm like, wait, what's this about? But if the Chinese government are just going to destroy the U.S. banking system, I'm thinking that's a much larger issue and that I really don't have to be all that concerned about, especially with my little paltry amount that's in the bank. Pretty sure that the FDIC is going to insure whatever amount of money that I have in my bank account that's been cleaned out by Chinese operatives accessing my funds through my TikTok app. Okay. I don't know. You got anything else? Is there anything more? They can spy on America. Really? Well, you know what they're going to see if they're spying on me? Whole bunch of really boring stuff. I don't know. But I do find it interesting about Meta and Google's role in this national shaming, the shaming programming of TikTok. And it's catching on. Because it's easy. It's catching on with the right people, which is white people over 40. Okay, those are the people they wanted to catch on with. White people over 40. They want white people over 40 to be very angry. You know, they want those people calling in their talk radio shows. And I think we ought to get rid of that TikTok. They don't know the first thing about TikTok. But, you know, those are the people that are going to be ginned up by this. Another interesting thing is we're coming up on an election cycle. There has never been an election cycle. First of all, we've got a massive new young voter block. First time. I mean, every year we have new voters, of course, but we've got a particular generational spike that is going to coincide with the next election. And that's got a lot of people thinking this is going to be the first election where most of these people in this generational spike are active on TikTok. TikTok, for the first true presidential election, will have its place on the dance floor. Twitter was important. Facebook has been important. TikTok and the way young voters will be using TikTok in the upcoming election is very interesting. I mean, it could create a young voter block that is, talk about a tsunami, right? Remember we were going to have the midterm tsunami? So maybe that's another reason why they want to get rid of TikTok before the election. They don't want a whole bunch of ginned up 19-year-olds out there voting. Who knows? But TikTok is a big story. Everybody's talking about it. I don't know much about it other than I have TikTok on my phone. Yeah, I do. I don't have an account. I mean, I do have an account. I don't do anything with it. I don't know. I'm going to. I'm sorry, but TikTok seems to be an incredibly effective way to promote. And well, we don't need to get into more TikTok. Utah is trending. Utah's always trending for a crazy reason, right? Utah's trending again. Why? Here's why. This is not a crazy reason. I have a 13-year-old kid, and I'm actually down with this new Utah law. Utah governor signs laws requiring parental consent for minors to use social media. Now, a minor in this context is anything under 18. So I believe most of the social networks, they have a 13 restriction, right? You got to be 13, at least Facebook and Twitter. I think you have to be 13 years to have an account. I don't know how that's enforced. I don't know how they prove that in the moment, because all of those, we put an age restriction on. No, you didn't. You put a box that pops up that says, are you 18? Yes or no? Okay, that's not an age restriction. That's not the... If I'm 15 and I want to see boobs and a box pops up that says, are you 18? Yes or no? I'm 15 wanting to see boobs. And in this moment, yeah, I'm 18. I'm clicking on it. That's not real. Stop it. We're doing all we can to protect children. Children have access to the most vulgar depictions of human sexuality ever. There's never, ever been a generation that has access to the kind of hardcore depictions of sex like they have for the last 10 years or so, maybe even more, 20 years, let's say 20 years. So maybe we do actually have grown-ups now who grew up with that kind of access. I mean, for me and for most people of my generation, man, if we found a box of Playboys in your uncle's garage, that was it. That was like, man, Playboy. Now, kids, man, kids have access to all kinds of things. And that's just pornography. But as far as interacting with other people and the access that I'm allowing strangers to have to my kid, yeah, you're damn right. I think parental consent for children 18 and under is a pretty good rule, Utah. Good for you. I appreciate that. Utah's regulations come amid ongoing debates about the impact of social media on young people's mental health. 4 other states are considering similar measures. See, now here in Utah, what I'm guessing that Meta and Google didn't pump enough money into Governor Spencer Cox's campaign funds. Because if they had, this would probably not be a thing. Utah Governor Spencer Cox signed 2 pieces of sweeping social media regulation into law Thursday that require social media companies to get parental consent for minors using their services, making Utah the first state to impose such measures in the United States. Versions of the regulations are being considered in 4 other states and in several federal proposals in Congress. Here it is. The new Utah laws. Here's what it is. The new Utah laws require that social media companies verify the age of any Utah resident who makes a social media profile and get parental consent for any minor who wishes to make a profile. They also force social media companies to allow parents to, and this is a big one, they allow social media companies to allow parents to access posts and messages from their child's account. Now, let me just say this about that. I would not access my son's private messages. Wouldn't do it. Wouldn't access his emails. But I want him to think I might. I want him to know that should I ever feel the need and should my current opinion of this topic ever change, I certainly can check the message, but I won't. I won't because, honestly, I'd like to say that's an invasion of his privacy, but just putting it out there that he thinks I might, that's the invasion of the privacy. He already thinks that his privacy is being invaded, so he's not free and comfortable to do what he wants, because even though I've said I'm not going to look, he still knows that I have access to. So that's bullshit. So I can't say, I'm doing this because I respect his privacy and his right to free. No, that's not why I'm doing it. I'm basically doing it because I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I want access to it. Here's the reality. I want him to think that at any minute I could drop in on his personal DMs and read everything that he's saying. I want him to think that, but I won't do it. And again, why won't I do it? Not because of some protection of his personal privacy and all that stuff. No, I won't do it because I don't want to know. I really don't want to know. My mind is telling me all kinds. I was 13 once. I know how he talks. I know what he's about. He's a very good kid. But he's also a typical 13-year-old boy who is like a horn dog. Oh, God, hate saying that about my kid. But you know what I mean? 13. These things happen. He likes girls a lot, Actually, he's not crazy. He's not, look, he is certainly to no extent Quagmire, okay? He's not that. He's a 13-year-old boy. And I know that if left to his own devices, he might find himself in some places on the internet. Maybe he finds himself talking to some people on a Twitter page. He'll have Instagram, he'll have TikTok. I think those are the only 2 he's interested in. He's not interested in Facebook. He's not interested in Twitter. And for pretty good reason. You know why he's not interested in Facebook? You know why kids, I should say this, do you know why kids aren't interested in Facebook? Because grandma is on Facebook. That's why. Because they love grandma, but they don't want grandma. They want to be grandma's little angel, They don't want grandma to have access to, them arguing with some classmate and dropping F-bombs and all that kind of stuff. No. So, I don't know. But I love this Utah law. So parents have access to the kids' accounts. The law also prohibits social media companies, and this is another thing that I love. This is great. And this is the one that's going to hurt them. The law also prohibits social media companies from displaying ads to minors, showing minor accounts in search results, collecting information about minors, targeting or suggesting content to minors, or knowingly integrating addictive technologies into social media apps used by minors. This, far be it for me to say Utah is doing something right, but Utah is absolutely doing something right. Now, I wouldn't say, certainly I'll march in the streets with you if they try and say this for adults, like they're going to suddenly, monitor and govern how adults interact on social media. That's different. But these are our kids. And because we've got these adults who are unbridled, I don't want to have my kid hanging out with them. You know what I mean? I don't want them in the same place where some adult from Kansas can reach out and become buddies with my 13-year-old. That's not something that any of us should be. Utah's laws come amid ongoing debates about the impact of social media on young people's mental health, a link that is widely theorized but remains the subject of academic study. All right, so that's, look at me, agreeing with laws in Utah. This one, okay, so now let's go to Florida. Let's look at some nuttiness happening in Florida. This is the worst. Okay, agree with Utah. Well done, Utah. Hey, Florida. Well, no surprise there. Florida is just eternally disappointing with all of their important decisions. So a principal in a Tallahassee school has been forced to resign. That's right. It's principal, whole career. Their career is over. Their career is over. You were, it says here at your last job that you were principal for 1 year. She's principal for 1 year. You're principal for 1 year. And then you resigned in scandal. So what hours can you work? Can you work a register, or would you prefer to work the fryer? Because now this principal, that's pretty much what she's looking at, because she's been embroiled in a scandal. What's the scandal that cost this young educator, this young administrator, this person who has dedicated their lives, dreams of shaping young minds? What's the scandal? Here's the scandal. One of her art teachers showed a class a picture of Michelangelo's David. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. She got fired. The principal of the school was fired for allowing pornography to be shown in schools. It was Michelangelo's David in an art class. Oh, wait, more. In an art history class. Pornography. Florida. Florida thinks the world's most famous sculpture, the sculpture of David, Michelangelo's David. Florida has deemed Michelangelo's David pornography. And children, especially those studying art history, are not allowed to see it in Florida classrooms. And they're not playing around, because they fired the principal of the school that allowed an art teacher to think that she could show young students interested in the history of art pictures of Michelangelo's David. Come on, man. What the fuck? You want to talk about common sense? What is wrong with people? Do you know what happened here? A bunch of Newsmax parents saw... That is exactly what happened. There was a story on Newsmax. And a parent in the district whose child didn't even tell him, who didn't even know anything about it, then went to a couple of her other Newsmax-loving parents and said, they're showing a sculpture of a man with a penis in the art class and it's pornography. Let's get her fired. Three parents ginned up by a Newsmax story, got a principal fired in Tallahassee because an art teacher showed students learning about art history a picture of Michelangelo's David. 1 point for Utah, deduction of points for Florida. Are you kidding me? Seriously, you guys. See, it's because the parents are stupid. Do you see? The parents don't know who Michelangelo is. They don't know who that is. They don't know what David is. They have no culture. They have no sophistication. So fuck their kids, right? Let the kids not have any kind of understanding of anything. Oh my God. Wait till they get into some of the subtext of Shakespeare. Oh my God. Sorry, Google signed me out. Google signed me out, and I think it's because I was talking shit about how they're paying off our Congress to go after their competitors. All right, let's continue on. Vase of Flowers claims that they're unashamedly and unrepentantly awful at times. Well, at least I'll say this for you, Vase of Flowers. At least you're self-aware in that respect. Does it hurt? Does it hurt to not be awful though? I mean, it's pretty easy to not be awful, right? I mean, there's a lot of things before you get to awful. You got jerk, right? You got jerk. You got dick, right? You got asshole, and then you got like truly awful. You don't need to go all the way up to truly awful. Just be an asshole. But you know what? Byron will walk you through it. Byron will teach you how to be a socially acceptable asshole. What else do we have here? Get on it, Byron. Florida school porn, we did that one. Okay, American libraries. All right, so we got some issues with libraries. This is also trending today. There's like 2,000 books. Certain libraries, we've normalized book burning. We've normalized it. It's just there's 2,000 books that are being banned. There was a list that I heard of books that are banned now in Florida. Do you know that an autobiography that I read when I was like 10 years old is now banned in Florida? The autobiography of Roberto Clemente is banned. It's banned in Florida. Kids cannot learn about the top tier baseball player and world-class humanitarian who was tragically taken from us in a plane crash. Students can't learn about this guy who dedicated his life to helping others, who never for one moment took for granted all of the benefits that were bestowed upon him because he could hit a fastball. Right? I mean, Roberto Clemente is one of like the most decent band. Kids in Florida, or at least this was Florida. I know that. I don't know about this. This is the rest of the country, this story. But kids in Florida can't read about Roberto Clemente. I mean, and there's a whole bunch of other. There was a list, but that's the one that I remembered because that's the one that I read when I was in school. I'm like, that book is awesome. I'm like, I read that book when I was like 12. That book is a book report. I did a book report on it. That book is awesome. The Roberto Clemente biography. And now kids can. That book inspired me. That book like made me go like, oh my God, look at this. We're celebrating somebody who was nice, who did good things, who died on his way bringing aid to earthquake victims. That's how he died. His plane crashed. They jumped in a plane. They said, let's get down there. Let's help them. Let's throw money at it. Let's dig holes. Let's rescue people. Jumped on a plane and the plane crashed. He died. Died on his way. He died the way he lived. And for some reason, the Roberto Clemente biography is banned. You can't read about him. Okay. Not cool. And libraries, 2,000 books. There's over 2,000 books through the American library system right now that are under examination for banning if certain people have their rights. One of them, the Roberto Clemente biography. We got to go through this. Look, man, if there are some books, I do believe that there are some books that are inappropriate for children. Whether or not those books are currently in school libraries, I don't know. I don't spend much time lurking around school libraries. Do you, weirdo? I mean, I don't. So, I mean, if you want to look at some of these books, okay, so let's talk about the books. But 2,000? There are 2,000 books in this net? Some of these books do not deserve to be banned. I'm just guessing. I know for a fact that Roberto Clemente's biography does not. What do we have here? Is it, where was this? Oh, this is Minnesota. Okay, so this is man. All right, I don't mean to laugh. those of you who are with me on a regular basis, you know that I have a tendency to laugh when I'm nervous. It's not that I'm making light of any situation or think that it's just like when it's an awkward, weird, I will sort of have a default of like nervous laughter. Don't read too much into it. Happens at the most inopportune times. Man accused of stabbing his wife to death during Bible study. That's right, you heard me, Bible study. Dude killed his wife at Bible study. A man has been charged with murder after allegedly stabbing his wife to death during a Bible study at a home earlier this week in Minnesota. The Ramsey County Attorney's Office charged 40-year-old Robert Castillo of St. Paul with second-degree murder in connection to Tuesday evening stabbing. CBS Minnesota, citing the criminal complaint, reports that St. Paul police officers responded to the residence at around 9 p.m., the report of a stabbing. When they arrived, they found 41-year-old Karina Woodhall with severe injuries to her torso, chest, and arms. Police said Castillo was being held down on the floor by several people. Okay, so here's what happened. So the woman who's dead, this was her sister's house. Her sister was hosting Bible study. Going to church or being Christian or that kind of thing, absolutely not a deal breaker for me. I can be, don't push me into your silliness. No offense. But, it's not a deal breaker for me. I begrudge no person their faith. But I draw the line at Bible study. All right? If you're Tuesday nights, you're going to Bible study, you go to church on Sundays. What? Bible study? Really? How many times a week you doing this? Is this just an excuse because you can't go to bars? Why don't you just go to a bar? Why can you have Bible study in bar? Now that's a thing. If you could have Bible study at a bar where you could just have a conversation about what it is, I don't think that's how Bible study works. I think it's all pretty much, you got to agree with everything, right? There's no room for debate. Anyway, so the husband shows up at his sister-in-law's Bible study on Tuesday night. They sit down on the couch together. And at some point, he leans over and he whispers something into his wife's ear and then immediately starts stabbing her with a knife. Stabby, stabby. Ugh, what the fuck? I don't want to say that's the kind of person that would go to Bible study. No, I'm kidding. I actually know my best friend goes to Bible study. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't want to do that. I'll go to church with you. I will. I absolutely will. Not every time, but I will. I will actively participate in your faith. And if you would like to try and convince me, that's fine. Just be measured about it. You know what I mean? Don't push me. If I come around to it and if I find my way into your faith, it'll be organic, it'll be beautiful, and most importantly, it'll be real. It won't be because, you were like, well, you got to be more like me. You know what I mean? So this couple, he stabs her, and then everybody jumps on him, and they hold him down. They call the police. The woman dies. The dude, would you be surprised to learn? He's an ex-con. He just recently released from prison. Apparently, he wanted to get back. I don't know what that's about. Jester says Bible study equals book club where the books never change. Yes, apparently that is it. It's Bible study is a book club with the same damn book every single night of your life. Here's another good one. We got this prison guard story. Did you see this? Is coming out of Atlanta. Apparently a prison guard got herself in trouble. Video shows former Fulton County detention officer behaving badly with inmates. Here's what happens. I don't know. I've never been in prison. I ain't never going to prison. You can't catch me, Kappa. I ain't going to prison. I'm one of those guys. We see those guys in the movies. I ain't going to prison. And I don't even know if I'll stand trial. I don't know. If I think I look cooked, I might, not going to prison. Not going to prison. I don't know how else to say it. I ain't going. I'll get locked up, county jail for a night. That's fine. That's different. Ain't going to prison. So it's like a weird thing that there's a female guard at this prison, and so she's like partying with the inmates. She's a guard, and she's in a cell, and she's sitting on one of these inmates' laps, and she's making out with them like their boyfriend and girlfriend at a house party. It's very weird. And somebody else, one of the other inmates, had a cell phone, smuggled, illegal, but they all got them. And they made a video. They made a video of her making out with this inmate. This is a prison guard. And then, I don't know, like the guards, a couple days later or whatever, they tossed all the cells. All right, everybody out. We've seen that depicted in prison movies where everybody's got to step outside the cell. And then they tossed the cell. They're looking for stuff. And they found the phone. They found the phone that was used. And then when they went and got the phone, they looked at what was in the phone. They looked at the videos, looking at all this stuff, and they found a whole bunch. This guard making out. She's like, it's crazy. You guys know any prison guards? Prison guards, man, that's a hardcore group of individual. Prison guards are people who could never be police, and they're too violent to be firemen. That's really it. Prison guards are people who cannot pass the mental to become a police officer. Like there's a red flag. Like, oh my God, this person's violent. And the same thing happens to them with firemen. See, firemen really have to be brave. I mean, firemen, I know, whatever. But firemen, your job, you're signing up for a job where where everybody else is running away, you have to run in. So that's kind of a thing. And they want you to be fearless and all that stuff. And they want you to have a tinge of crazy, but not too crazy. They don't want you totally crazy. They want firemen, the level of crazy that is not acceptable for a police officer is welcomed in the fire department. However, there is another level that becomes prison guards. I know a guy I went to high school with who became a prison guard. And I'm like, that tracks. I could totally see this former bully, this big dumb meathead, former high school bully is now a prison guard. I'm like, yeah, that tracks. Because God forbid anyone ever give him a badge and a squad car. Because that guy is not going to be a good cop. Apparently he's a good prison guard. Mike Greenberg is trending. Mike Greenberg. Do you know Greeny from ESPN? I love Mike Greenberg. I really do. Now, I have a history with Mike Greenberg. Mike Greenberg started out in Chicago media around the same time I did. He worked at the same radio station as me. He was, for you Chicago people, you might remember Mike Greenberg when he was on CLTV. He was the sports guy on CLTV, and then he worked at AM 1000 for a period of time. He was a producer, and then he was on air. I mean, he always seemed to be operating at a different level than the rest of us that were in his sort of peer group. Greenberg was a little bit, he was going somewhere, you know what I mean? And then here he is now. He's one of the faces of ESPN. And he's having a rough go of it. Looks like Sports World is praying for Mike Greenberg, a longtime ESPN personality, had a cardiac ablation procedure on Monday. Recovery is slow. He's been off all week. Greeny. People wondering where the Greeny show is. I like the Greeny show. I watch the Greeny show. It's smart sports talk. Greeny's smart. Greeny's a smart guy. He's not one of these, that guy sucks. He's not that. Greeny's more of a considered and thoughtful sports talker. I like him. He's been off all week, and it's because he had a bit of a cardiac issue. His wife says, for those asking, Greeny, this is his wife. For those asking, Greeny had a cardiac ablation on Monday. Recovery is slow. He has to do nothing, and believe me, he's not great at that. We both really, really appreciate all the nice messages. So keep a good thought for Mike Greenberg. Keep a good thought for Greeny. How about Zeke? We got some Zeke stories. Ezekiel Elliott. Oh, who doesn't love Zeke? Oh, the good old days of Zeke. You accomplished nothing. No, I'm teasing. You wanted to see, you thought, at some point there was going to be Zeke, hoisting the Lombardi trophy there in a Cowboys uniform, but it never really happened. So Zeke is what is he? He's a free agent. He'd be a free agent. He was cut by the Cowboys, let go. Ooh, boy, how you feel about him going to the Eagles? A lot of people say Zeke's going to the Eagles. I don't know if he's going to go to the Eagles. Who did the Eagles? Didn't the Eagles just pick up a running back? I don't know. Anyway, Zeke Elliott is going to need more than 3 wishes, it says here. Elliott released a wish list of teams that he would like to play for. The wish list was leaked Thursday. These are teams he wants to play for after being cut by the Dallas Cowboys. But the interest doesn't seem to be mutual. Oh, Zeke, what? So Zeke is a free agent. Zeke might be a little delusional here. I feel bad for him. Didn't have the greatest stats last year, so it's not great for him to be a free agent. Zeke Elliott at this point in his career is going to probably have to hope for past accomplishments to maybe get him a little extra cash there on the open market, because it ain't a good era in the NFL to be a running back seeking a big deal. Certainly not a long-term deal. Running backs are the big lighters of football these days, NFL football. Disposable. You can get another one in the 5th round. You can get a serviceable running back you can get a serviceable running back as an undrafted free agent. I'll give you an example. It feels like this dude is on his 15th year in the league. Running back by the name of Raheem Mostert. He's played on every team. He started out as an undrafted camp walk-on for the Chicago Bears. He played for the Bears for like a season. Then he went to the 49ers. And they keep cutting these guys and they keep moving them around. It's very rare. Like Zeke had the big contract. Zeke was a superstar. And I wonder if Zeke Elliott might, maybe Saquon, because didn't Saquon come a couple years after Zeke? So maybe Saquon. I'm trying to think of who is the last glory back in the NFL. Like, my introduction to the NFL, it was all glory backs. It was every team had a glory back. Every team had an Earl Campbell, a Tony Dorsett, an Eric Dickerson, a Billy Sims, a Walter Payton, a Franco Harris. Every team had one. Now it's like there's no such thing as a glory. The glory back, the high-paid running back who drives the offense. Not that Zeke ever drove the offense, but he certainly was a big part of it. I think that's gone now. You got Bijan Robinson out of the University of Texas, who looks to be one of the most talented coming out of college running backs that we've seen in years. He may not even go in the 1st round. Bijan Robinson, honestly, my Bears are sitting at 9. I would love to take him, but that's only because I watched a lot of UT games. Bijan Robinson may not go in the 1st round. So Zeke out here putting a wish list out of teams that he'll accept playing for. Man, I don't think Zeke knows what's happening out there. Zeke will be lucky, So who was on his wish list? Let's see here. ESPN's Adam Schefter tweeted a report Thursday that Elliott, 27, had narrowed his options about where he will play. See what I mean? A little delusional. Where he will play. Oh, are you going to really retire, Zeke, at 27? I don't think so. Zeke, you got 2-3 years left. You can do 1-year deals for the next 3 years. You can bounce around, cash a couple multi-million-dollar checks. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Very least, you'll make $5 million a year for the next 3 years. Probably a little less. The last one will be probably for about $3 million on a 1-year deal. But that's, you won't be a feature back. You don't have to be a feature back. You're not a workhorse. You're a change of pace back at this point. Enjoy that. But there are these teams that you are saying, these are the teams that I'll play for. Oh, my baby. You're gonna have to rethink that stance, okay? So here's who he wants to play for. He wants to play for the Bengals. Bengals got Mixon, but there might be some issues with Mixon. So, but not big issues. I wouldn't, unless they're already thinking of moving on from Mixon, which is possible. They might be willing to do that, but I don't think so. All right, so the Bengals. He wants to go play for the Bengals. Zeke also wants to go play for the Eagles. How's that feel, Cowboy Nation? Zeke, one of 4 teams he wants to play for, the hated and feared. That's right, the Eagles. He also wants to play for the Jets. The New York City Jets. But so far, it appears none of those teams have actually offered him a contract. Bengals head coach Zach Taylor was asked by local ABC affiliate about the report and implied that Schefter's tweet was the first that he'd heard about it. There's a lot of great players that are available right now, Taylor said with a smile. We like our team as where it's at right now. Okay, so that's telling. So is there any truth? So Coach Taylor, is there any truth to the rumor about, you guys being interested in Zeke Elliott? Well, it's the first I'm hearing of it. You got anything else to say about it, Coach? Yeah, I'll say this. There's a lot of great players that are available right now. We like our team where it's at. That tells me the way he says it. We like it. There's a lot of great players out there, but we like our team where it's at. There's a lot of great players out there, but as it pertains to this conversation and Ezekiel Elliott, we like our team where it's at. You got to read what's between the lines that's not there. That's what he's saying. He's saying there's a lot of great players we may add, but we ain't adding Zeke Elliott. All right, so that's what Zach Taylor seems to be saying right now. Oh, what else do we have here? Cincinnati lost running back Samaje Perine to the Denver Broncos in free agency, and Joe Mixon's future is up in the air. With rumors of a release lingering, Joe Mixon, really? All right, so this is what I mean. These, running backs that seem to be big names who, if they played in the 1970s, would be the face of the league. They're just gonna cut Joe Mixon. They're just gonna cut their workhorse back. All right, so there you go. So I don't know where Zeke's gonna go. I mean, he can go somewhere, but and I guess that's how you negotiate, right? You negotiate. You enter into negotiate wanting the world. Here's the only team I'm willing to play for, and I'm not going to step on a field for a dime less than this number. Like, that's how you start, right? And then pretty soon it's like, he's he's walking on in the summer with the Houston Texans, right? Trying to, get a 1-year deal at the very end of this. He's not done. Zeke is not done, man. If a team can get him on a good deal and they can utilize him properly, oh my God, Zeke is a talent. You can still get a little something out of him. He's just not the everyday back anymore. 5 planets is trending. Apparently on Monday, there's going to be, it's the first, you know how I hate these things, these celestial events. It's the last time you're ever going to see something like this, so you better drop everything and be staring at the sky at 3:45 a.m. on Monday. You know what I mean? It's like the kind of thing, you didn't see the last partial lunar eclipse in the month of April for 500 years? You didn't see that? Everything is supposed to be the last time, the biggest time, the first time. You better not miss it. You can't see it. And then every week there's another one. There's another thing that is never going to happen again. And I'm okay with that. If the specific thing never happens again, but every couple of days there's another thing where this specific thing will never happen again, I'm fine with that. That's fine. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit if I never see one of those things again. What do you got for me next week? You're going to be able to see a star explode for the first time if you look at the outer rims of the moon at 4 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday. All right, I'll see that. Watch a star explode. Saw it. Check it off my list. Well, on Monday, we've got quite the celestial event that's going on up there in the skies above America. 5 planets, folks. 5 planets will parade across the sky in a rare astronomical event, while skyscraper-sized asteroids fly by Earth. Well, that sounds like the end of times. Let's hope we make it through. More than half the solar system's planets will align on Monday in a rarely seen spectacle, arcing across the corner of the night sky. Mercury! Mercury? That's a shit planet, right? That we don't care. Venus? We like Venus, right? Venus is like feminine, women. We like that. Venus is good. Mars, we're going there next. Mars is going to be our buddy. Uranus? No, we don't like Uranus. Uranus is the butt of a lot of jokes. All right, so those are the planets. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Uranus will all parade across the sky accompanied by the moon and possible star clusters. So there you go, Monday. When you got to see it? The planets will be arrayed across the western horizon in an arc about 20 to 25 minutes after sunset. Oh, they're not going to make us wake up in the middle of the night for this one. This is good. So a half hour after sunset on Monday. So what's that like? Going to be like 7:40? I don't know. What time does it get dark now? I'm not even sure. All right, so about a half hour. Whatever. Hey, if you're into that thing, go ahead. You know what I'll do? If I remember, I'll look outside. If I remember, I'll go, and something's supposed to be going on now. I'll go and I'll look outside. If not, I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself because I missed it. Here's a story. Here's a story that I don't like. This is a story. I got to show you this one too. We got to share you this one. So those of you who may have been a listener to my old show, the Pugs and Kelly show, you know that I have multiple decades to stand on this. Hold on. Accept. I have long been sounding the alarm on monkeys. Monkeys and their relation to man. Monkeys are coming for us. Monkeys are not to be trusted. Monkeys are some scary, scary things. Look at this. India, they're like the worst. They have monkeys the way we have squirrels. They run or they steal things. And look at this. Look at what this monkey did. This one is not good. All right. These monkeys. Hey, India, get a hold of your monkeys. Brazen monkey kidnaps puppy from busy street and takes it on a wild ride over rooftops. Right, here you go. Look at this. Look at that. Look at that. It's a monkey, and it's got a little puppy in its arms, and it just took the puppy. Oh, look at that. See, these monkeys, they steal shit, they attack people, they throw things. Imagine you're walking down the street and a squirrel throws something at you. You don't need this. You don't need this in your life. Monkeys, I can't walk down to the corner and get a newspaper because a monkey might throw a brick at my head. Now they're stealing puppies? Look at these monkeys. By the way, this is a real problem, and that's why this story's going on. 245 puppies are believed to have been stolen in recent weeks during a rash of monkey puppy thefts. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but apparently the monkeys have developed a taste for puppy, because this puppy that we're seeing here is dead. There is no way this monkey is taking this puppy and, gonna raise it as its own. This monkey, that's a Disney movie. This is real life mean streets of Mumbai. This is real. That puppy's dead. And that monkey had a meal out of it. God, could you imagine? Look, I am very interested in Indian culture. Indian culture is fascinating. Indian women are so beautiful. Indian culture, India is a powerful, powerful, emerging nation. Take India seriously. But India, get your monkeys under control, okay? I mean, look, we here in the North American area of the world, we had a problem as well. They were called bears and wolves, and we kind of handled it. We took care of it. You don't walk down the street in Minnesota now and get chased by wolves. Handle your monkey business, India. India trying to be a world player. Meanwhile, they got monkeys throwing rocks at people just going out to pick up the newspaper. No, thank you. All right, let's jump in. That's it. That's all I got prepared for you. Let's jump in and see. Let's see what is happening here. Anything trending on Twitter that we need to mention? Jack Nicholson is trending, but I don't know why he's trending. Here's what I'll say about Jack Nicholson, who's trending at the moment. Do you know Jack Nicholson has like a 30-something? Yeah, here we go again. Jack Nicholson with a kid that he has never paid any attention to. Jack Nicholson has a daughter who's an actress in New York. And she's only met him once, like when she was 5. He's never even, no birthdays, no nothing. He's the father, and he has been sending checks to the mother her whole life. And, she went to private school and all that good stuff, but she doesn't even know her dad. And she's an actress. And here's the thing. She's apparently really good. Like, she's a young New York Broadway actress on the come. And she's Jack Nicholson's daughter. And I don't even think she uses the Nicholson name. I don't think it's... No, she uses her mother's name because her mother raised her. But, man, what kind of bullshit is that? And she's beautiful, and she's real... I mean, people seem to like her. And by that, what I mean is, like, New York desk critics and stuff like that. She seems to be having a career. And she's like, yeah, Jack Nicholson's my dad, but... I don't really get to use that because he doesn't acknowledge me. And, it's like, what? Awkward. Let's cast them in a movie together. Let's cast Jack Nicholson. Well, I guess he's retired. But man, doesn't that tell you more about the industry? I love Jack Nicholson. Oh my God, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. You Can't Handle the Truth. You know, Few Good Men. He's just awesome. He's like The Departed. Jack Nicholson's great in everything. I love him. He's apparently a dick. He's apparently a piece of shit human being because he's got a beautiful young daughter and all he felt the need to do was just send checks to her, which I suppose is better than nothing, but he's not a deadbeat. You know, he's Jack Nicholson. This is the kind of situation where if Jack Nicholson wasn't Jack Nicholson, it wasn't a big-time movie star, maybe Jack Nicholson worked at Jiffy Lube or something, and he never saw his daughter. He wouldn't be paying anything. He'd just be gone. This is the makeup of the man. He's that kind of guy. Just simply paying for the spawn that you helped create doesn't really let you off the moral hook. You gotta be in that kid's life. Although maybe if you're as much a piece of shit as you seem to be, maybe you shouldn't be in her life. Anyway, she was interviewed for, I think it was a story in the New Yorker, which I saw. I don't read the New Yorker. The story was going around, and I clicked on it, and I went, oh, that's interesting. And the story was about Nepo babies. You know, we keep hearing this term Nepo babies because Hollywood seems to be awash in second and third generation celebrities. It seems like the only celebrities that we have now are the children of other celebrities. That used to be a novelty. That used to be something. Oh, did you know that's Henry Fonda's daughter? You know, there was like kind of a novelty when it was Jane Fonda and Peter Fonda. Now it's everybody. Freaking everybody's a Nepo baby. And I learned about this Jack Nicholson's daughter, girl, from an article on Nepo babies that was presenting her as the antithesis to the Nepo baby. An actress who started at the very bottom, didn't have any benefit of any family name or anything, and is absolutely crushing it on the New York, theater scene. And then it's revealed in the story that, and her dad is Jack Nicholson. And Jack Nicholson is trending. There you go. Why he's trending? I don't know. I don't know why he's trending. I have no idea. But Will Levis. Why is Will Levis trending? Because he's tumbling down the draft board? Or, excuse me, it looks like Will Levis is doing his pro day. Maybe that's it. Is he doing pro day today? I don't know why Will Levis is trending. He's one of the quarterbacks that's up for grabs in the coming NFL draft. Deutsche Bank. This is an interesting one. Deutsche Bank is trending. It's been trending since early this morning. We saw the issue with SVB, Silicon Valley Bank. Crumbled, caused all kinds of ripple effects and problems all over. Regional banks started to teeter. The federal government in the United States had to step in to bolster any number of regional banks. Big mess. Then, overseas, we had the situation last Friday, I believe it was 1 week ago today, with Credit Suisse, where Credit Suisse was no longer going to be able to make their credit commitments. So, instead of watching Credit Suisse, one of the cornerstone banking institutions of Europe, fall on its ass and kill off, I don't know how many people would be affected by that. Instead of allowing that to happen, the Swedish government kind of worked a deal where they convinced UBS, which is the second largest bank in Switzerland, UBS, to come in and rescue Credit Suisse. Credit Suisse was the number one bank. So basically Pepsi had to go in and rescue Coke, is what happened in Switzerland. And now there's problems there because UBS is like, we're a little top heavy. So there's issues going on there. Now Deutsche Bank in Germany is having a moment. Deutsche Bank is having a moment. There are some issues. Let's see. Deutsche Bank is down. How big are they down? Another day, another bank in trouble. Deutsche Bank is down 14% today. Their credit default swaps are surging. This means the cost to insure bondholders against a default is rising rapidly. Not good. Deutsche Bank is the largest bank in Germany. Credit Suisse, Deutsche Bank, the Bank of England. I'm trying to think of the cornerstone banks of the entire European economy. Deutsche Bank having themselves some issues today. What else do we have? Anything else trending? Rosa Parks is trending. Why is Randy Johnson trending? I love Randy Johnson. Randy Johnson. Okay. It's his birthday. That's his birthday. Oh, because 22 years ago today. Oh, my God. Why wasn't this in my history of the day? Previously, on March the 24th. Do you know that it was on this day? It says 22 years ago today. 22 years ago today? This was in 2001? Yeah, it was March 24th, 2001. Do you remember Randy Johnson, the big unit pitcher for the Seattle Mariners, one of the greatest it's ever been? Do you remember when Randy Johnson delivered a pitch to home plate at the exact same time that a seagull was flying across the flight, and he blew up the seagull? So imagine a baseball pitcher standing on the mound, and he's throwing the ball, and as he's throwing the ball to home plate, a bird just flies right in and just gets blown up. It's almost like I feel I gotta watch this, right? We gotta watch this. I feel like we gotta. I mean, why wouldn't we? It's on this ad. One of the most. I mean, I don't know, how does this happen? I mean, I guess anything is possible because, But man, couldn't do this again in a million. Oh, now I can't find Randy Johnson. Really? Well, fuck it. I don't care. Never mind. He blew up a pigeon or a dove or a bird or whatever. Wasn't his fault. He was just throwing a pitch to home plate. That's his job. And the bird flew in between, and the bird got blowed up. Somebody else did that too. Was it Dave Winfield? Didn't Dave Winfield throw a ball from left field? He was throwing it, and he hit a bird. Like there was a bird flying in the sky, and it killed the bird too. There's been a number of these incidents. But the most spectacular, the most freakiest one is easily the Randy Johnson. Randy Johnson's is the most spectacular because of the way the bird explodes, and also because of the myth and legend of Randy Johnson, the big unit. He throws fireballs, man. Maybe another pitcher would have thrown it and the bird would have been hit and the bird would have fallen to the ground and be dead, but not explode. This bird exploded in a burst of feathers when it crossed paths with Randy Johnson's fastball. It's crazy. Tip the show if you can. The show exists on your tips and your gratuities. We've not received a tip in an entire week. We're not doing great. Help us out if you can. Cash App, PayPal. Nah, don't mess with PayPal. Unless you have to, unless it's the only way. Cash App, Venmo, drop a little something. I'm your bartender. I'm your whatever. Just throw a little something in there if you can. We'll be back on Monday. We'll be back on Monday with more High Noon. We do this every Monday through Friday at High Noon. We run down all the day's topics. Do you feel like you understand all the stuff that people are talking about today? Because I gave you a pretty nice mix of stuff today, I think. We do that every day. And we'll be back doing it again on Monday at noon. The dog is laying right to my right here. She's laying right there. And she's giving me this look. Where she's craning her head and she's just making awkward eye contact with me. Because by her sense of time measurement, this is around when I stop sitting in this chair and just yelling at stuff. And then we go outside and we play. That's what she thinks. She thinks it's that time. That is something I think about all the time, because she lays here on the floor. The dog lays here on the floor and just watches me do this, and she has no concept of streaming. She doesn't know that I'm talking to anybody. All she does is she just sees me sitting here making noise for 2 hours. And she's cool with it. She's cool with it. Dogs, man. Dogs are cool with a lot of nonsense. They don't ask too many questions. As long as there's going to be food involved at some point, the dog is down with whatever idiocy you want to engage in. And that's what we do here. All right, keep it here. Again, any big news stories or anything like that, we'll jump in. Plane crashes, God forbid. I'll jump in. I got nothing else. I love you guys. See you Monday. Have a great weekend. Bye.